Hey guys, I hope you're doing great today. This is our chapter number 7, and today we are going to discuss one of the most popular service, which is AWS Storage. AWS Storage provides unlimited storage that can meet our business needs. But there are certain and different types of storages that we must know when we are going to take the exam of AWS Cloud Practitioner. So, we are going to discuss all the types of storage that AWS provides. Also, we are going to have a quick look on AWS storage classes. Okay, there are around 7 different storage classes that are aligned with our business needs that AWS offers. So, what are the types of storages that AWS has to offer for us? Let's discuss. And before we proceed, usually that I say to you and request that please make sure that you subscribe DevOps Molvi. I really appreciate and need your support. So, what is instance store? This is actually the first type of storage. Instance store. Instance store is an ephemeral storage type. Now, again, what is ephemeral storage type? If you remember my Docker lectures, or if you have watched my Docker lectures, we discussed ephemeral storage in detail. My brothers and sisters, ephemeral storage is actually a temporary storage. Okay? When our Docker container is running, the data will persist on that container. But if we stop or terminate the container, the data on that container will be lost. That's why it is not a permanent or persistent storage solution. That's why it is known as ephemeral. Ephemeral is actually a temporary storage. And in the same context, here, data is lost when the EC2 instance is stopped, terminated, or fails. Okay, instead of container, now let's consider EC2 instance. And if that EC2 instance has instance store, which is an ephemeral storage type, if we accidentally stop or terminate the instance, then the data on that EC2 instance would be lost. That's why it is known as a temporary or ephemeral storage type. In AWS, instance store is best suited for temporary data. It is not at all recommended for our production environments. Okay, we can face a lot of data loss if we are using instance store for our production environment. So therefore it is for temporary data. It can be used for caching, okay, that we remove occasionally on from our servers, and high performance workloads where data loss during instance termination is acceptable, where we can accept that, okay, no problem, we can lose our data. It is not that important. These are just cache files or log files, whatever. So, if we think that we can bear the loss of the data, then we can use instance store. But if our system is production environment, and if we are building our applications for our users where data loss cannot be tolerated, then we must go with Elastic Block Store, which is our next slide, and it is an alternate solution of Instance Store. Instance Store is temporary. Instance Store is ephemeral. Therefore, we need a permanent and persistent storage solution, which is our next slide, and it is Elastic Block Store. EBS volumes. Usually, these are known as EBS volumes. But what is Elastic Block Store? Instead of ephemeral or temporary, Elastic Block Store is persistent. It is a permanent storage solution where we will never lose our data. Okay, I hope that you understand it. It is known as EBS volumes. EBS volumes provide persistent network attached block storage. We can attach our volumes to the network with our EC2 instances. That's why these are known as network attached, and these are elastic. We can attach or detach with our EC2 instances. EBS volumes are ideal for long-term data storage and applications that require data persistence. We need data persistency, okay? And therefore, we must use a permanent and persistent data storage solution, which is Elastic Block Store. If we stop or terminate an EC2 instance, all the data on the attack EBS volumes will remain available. This is actually the core benefit of Elastic Block Store, and therefore, guys, we can use EBS volumes for our production EC2 instances because we are not afraid of losing our data. Our data will be persistent, it would be permanent, and it would be a long-term storage until and unless I myself remove the data or remove or delete the volume. Now, guys, here I have shared two different diagrams. Now you can see this is instance store. If the EC2 instance is running and the instance store that is attached with that EC2 instance will have the data as long as the EC2 instance is running. But if we stop it or terminate it, the data will be lost. And instead, in Elastic Block Store, you can see that the EC2 instance has been terminated or it has been stopped or it has been deleted, but still we have the volume with all the data in that volume. Okay, so that's why for production or QA or even dev environments, we must use Elastic Block Store because it is a permanent and persistent storage in Amazon Web Services. And after that, guys, we have Amazon EBS Snapshots. And this is an additional layer to back up our critical data. Data is everything. Since I told you that data is the business revenue, data is money in this IT era. Okay, so we must take care of our data and we can take incremental backups of EBS volumes by creating Amazon EBS Snapshots. Now, what is an incremental backup? Incremental backup, I will show you with the diagram so that would be more easy. By the way, the definition of incremental backup is that the first backup taken of a volume copies all the data, and for subsequent backups, for more backups, only the blocks of data that have been changed since the most recent snapshots are backed up. Okay, only the changes are backup, not the full backup is taken every day. Okay, and now you can see in this diagram, I have this EBS volume. Okay, and on day one, I will have the full backup of that volume. And with the subsequent days, day 2, day 3, day 4, if there are any changes made in that volume, only those changes will be backed up. Okay, now that is why it is known as incremental backups. Instead of taking the full backups daily again and again, no, only the changes are backup. We have only one full copy that was taken on day one. I hope that you understand it. This is actually the difference between full backups and incremental backups. In full backups, we take the full backup on a daily basis. And in incremental backups, we take the full backup on day one, and with the subsequent days on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and so on, only the changes are backed up. That is why these are known as Amazon EBS snapshots. These are actually incremental backups, and we must have these backups in case of any volume getting corrupted. We must have our volumes backed up using EBS snapshots. All right, guys, now talking about the world's most favorite and world's most popular storage solution, which is Amazon S3, AWS S3, known as Simple Storage Service. S3 is a service that provides object level storage. Now, what is object level storage? From that, I mean to say, object can be an image, it can be a document, it can be a video, it can be any configuration file, a log file. All these are objects. That's why it is known as object level storage. In object storage, each object contains data, metadata, and a key. It means that every object will have every image, every video, every document will have the metadata and a key. The data can be an image, okay? It can be a video, your personal videos as well. You can have text, document, configuration files, log files, or any other type of files. We can store them in simple storage service. Metadata contains information about what the data is. It is data about data. Metadata is actually data about data, how it is used, what is the size of the object, when this data was uploaded, and so on. So it is actually metadata. An object's key is its unique identifier. Okay, each object will have a key, and it is its unique identifier to identify any certain object in simple storage service, where we can have thousands of objects, thousands of images. We can identify each image with a key, and each object's key is its unique identifier. Amazon S3 offers unlimited storage. Okay, and what is the maximum file size? Now, it is an important question. What is the maximum file size of an object in S3? And the answer is, it is 5 terabyte. So each object or each file can be up to 5 terabyte in simple storage service. So guys, now what are the S3 storage classes? S3 has classified storage according to 7 different classes, okay, to meet our business needs. These are curated according to our business requirements. So there are actually 7 different storage types, and we can choose the storage type of our choice according to these two following factors. We have to keep these factors in our mind before choosing the storage class. How often we plan to retrieve the data? From data retrieval, I mean to download the data. Okay, how often we are planning to download the data? Is it frequently or infrequently, weekly, daily, monthly, yearly? Okay, and how available we need our data to be. So these are actually two factors, and then we can decide which storage class will meet our business needs. And there are 7 storage classes. The first one is S3 standard, which is the most common one, and it is designed for frequently accessed data and stores data in a minimum of 3 availability zones. So it means that our data will be copied in 3 different multiple availability zones for durability, and we can access our data frequently. So if I am going to access my data and I want my data to be available every time I want to access it, I must choose S3 standard, and my data would be replicated among 3 different availability zones to avoid data loss or data corruption. Now we have S3 standard infrequent access. As the name says, ideal for infrequently accessed data with lower storage and higher retrieval price. The data that I want to access after a year, after 2 years, then the price of the storage will be lower, but the data downloading price, okay, higher retrieval price means the downloading price of the data would be a little higher in S3 infrequent access, but it is recommended for data that is infrequently accessed. I mean, after a year, after 6 months, after 2 years, etc. Number third is S3 one zone infrequent access, and it stores the data in single availability zones. Okay, so that is why it is known as one zone infrequent access. S3 intelligent tiering, ideal for data with unknown or changing access patterns. The data can be different. Sometimes it can be images, sometimes it can be videos, sometimes it can be documents. So the data is changing its patterns. There are different types of data. So for that purpose, I should go with S3 intelligent tiering, which is ideal for data with unknown or changing access patterns. And after that, guys, we have S3 Glacier Instant Retrieval, which is best for archived data that requires immediate access. And then we have number 6, S3 Glacier Flexible Retrieval, best to retrieve objects within a few minutes to hours. And then we have S3 Glacier Deep Archive, lowest cost, ideal for archiving and able to retrieve objects within 12 hours. First of all, Glacier is used for archives. If I have large data archives, then I must go with S3 Glacier. Then S3 Glacier has more three types, okay? There are three different types. The first is instance retrieval. If I want to retrieve, I want to get or download my archive data immediately, then S3 instant retrieval, as the names are actually defining the classes. And if I want it to be flexible, okay, take your time, then S3 flexible retrieval. But if I don't worry about time, it can take up to 12 hours to retrieve or download the data, then I must go with S3 deep archive, which is most cheaper storage class in S3. So these are actually different storage classes, and we are asked about questions that which one would be best for our business needs. So we must know about these storage classes in simple storage service. And by the way, most of the times as a DevOps engineers, we are going to use S3 standard. After that, guys, we have Amazon Elastic File System. Elastic File System is a shared storage in which a large number of services and resources need to access the same data at the same times. So just like we saw a shared drive, okay, in our university, in our labs, we saw a shared drive that we can all the students can access that shared drive to get the data, to get the presentations, get the lectures. Similarly, we can create a file system, elastic file system. If I want to share the data with my colleagues, with my DevOps teams, then I can use elastic file system, which provides a simple, powerful, and scalable solution for sharing and managing files in the cloud. Okay, and then all those files, all those documents would be accessible by my DevOps team, by the whole employees of the company. We can use elastic file system. Like I have given you the example of a shared drive. It is also a shared drive in the cloud. Okay, that is more easy to understand. And when we create an elastic file system folder or directory, then we can easily share our files, documents with all the employees, with colleagues in our IT company. And I have explained it here as well. In file storage, multiple clients such as users, DevOps team members, applications, servers, and so on can access the data that is stored in shared file folders. So those folders with the data are shared using Elastic File System, and when those folders are shared, everyone, every user, application, or servers can access those shared folders. So that's it, guys, for today's lecture. We have discussed Instance Store, EBS volumes, Elastic Block Store. We discussed about simple storage service and all the 7 storage classes of S3. And after that, we had a quick look on Elastic File System to share our folders, to share our data among our users and team members. So these were different storage types and storage solutions that AWS offers. I hope that you have got all your concepts clear. And in the next chapter, we are going to discuss about AWS databases. So I really appreciate that you subscribe DevOps Molvi. I will see you in our next chapter of AWS databases. If you have any questions, feel free to ask anytime. Have a good one. Bye.